Thank you, everyone, to being on the call today. My name is Lindsay Humphreys, and I'm the Program Director for Junior Achievement of New Mexico. Welcome to our Inspiring NM Student Conference. Thank you to the New Mexico Society of CPAs, who has partnered with Junior Achievement to bring you this amazing conference. This conference was designed to provide New Mexico students with the opportunity to hear the personal journeys of business professionals in various careers in finance. During the remaining 3 weeks of this conference, we will feature 2 speakers per week, a speaker on Wednesday afternoons at 1 o'clock and Thursday mornings at 10:30. During these events, you will hear our speakers share details about their education, their job, and their career journey, as well as learn some very valuable skills and concepts for your own future economic success. But before we get started, we have a few virtual meeting etiquette reminders. This is just your reminder that this video is recorded and will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So anybody who gets that link, feel free to share that with your network. At this time, please type your first and last name into the chat box. And if you are an educator or a parent on the call and you have students with you, please just let us know how many students are attending with you today. During the speaker's presentation, please make sure all of your mics are muted. And if you have questions during the portion of the Q&A, we will address those at that time. So today we are so thankful and so excited to welcome Seddrick Robinson, and we are honored and thrilled to have him share his story with you today. Seddrick, I'll mute and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Lindsay. I appreciate it. And so just to introduce myself, my name is Seddrick Robinson. I work at Fidelity Investments and I am an HSA planner. For any of you asking what an HSA planner is, basically I have people call in and I help them and I answer questions really for them, and at this point finally give some guidance on how they can invest their health savings account, which is a awesome account that we have. So that's what I do. But just to kind of give you a little background about myself, I was born and raised in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. So definitely my hometown. I went to Del Norte High School. For any of you that know Del Norte High School or currently go there, shout out to you guys. But I never could have imagined myself working at Fidelity Investments. Not for the fact that I couldn't do it. It's just never thought I would be in this type of industry. Growing up, I'd never really had a financial background by any means. Of course, I had my dad that raised me, and he would always say, save money, and tried teaching me that basics of savings, but I never really listened. And I think that was probably because I know, like, if I ran out of money, I could always say, hey, Dad, I need like $5, and he would give it to me. So I think that's probably was my issue there. But, growing up as well in school, it's not something that's really always talked about. And so it's nice that you guys really have this opportunity today to get a little financial basics. Because I can tell you, it really does go a long way. I've worked probably since I graduated from high school and never really had a savings account, never understood like what a retirement plan was. And all that changed once I started working at Fidelity. And really, like working here has given me so much of a better understanding of how I want my future to look. And it really all starts with just learning the basics of finance. So that's just a little bit about myself. So I'll go ahead and actually get into the presentation. And so today, the journey that we're going to go on is teaching financial literacy about savings and investing. So, saving and investing is something that everyone should look into, especially starting so young, because that's the best time to do it. The more you save now and you invest it, potentially it grows, the better for yourself in the future. There's been times, I've talked to 25-year-olds that had no idea. They just call in to, talk about a 401k for a second. And it's wonderful that they're starting off so young, because not a lot of people really take advantage of, their accounts. Um, so it's awesome seeing, younger people starting to really get more financially savvy. And so, first, we'll talk about the difference between investing and saving. And so, we see the key differences. Saving, and these are definitions I got from Investopedia, but saving is the money a person has left over when they subtract their consumer spending from their disposable income, and that's over a given time period. Savings can be used to increase income through investing, which we'll go over in just a second as well. So I'm sure we all know what saving is. You have a dollar, instead of using it now, you put it away and you have a dollar later on. That's saving. Investing, on the other hand, I would say definitely correlates with saving. But investing is the act of allocating resources, usually money, with the expectation of generating an income or profit. You can invest in endeavors such as using money to start a business, or in assets such as purchasing real estate in hopes of reselling it later at a higher price. And investing is really, a key component when it comes to saving, because you can save, $1,000 and, put that $1,000 away that you'd never see in the future. But then, 5 years from now, you still have $1,000. But that $1,000 may not actually be worth $1,000 at that 5 year time period. We'll kind of go into that a little later as well. But investing, I mean, there's so many different ways you can invest. As it said, you can buy businesses, assets, artwork, things like that are assets that you can eventually resell if you wanted to. Real estate, definitely like a really big investment. I was reading a book the other day that told a story about a McDonald's owner who actually started the company. And he was giving a talk to some students at a college. He went to a bar with them. And they were just talking, and he asked the question, what business am I in? And, everyone, of course, said, you sell burgers. But that wasn't the case. His answer was, no, I'm in real estate, which McDonald's is one of the biggest properties around that you see everywhere. And so it makes sense. But let's go ahead and continue into it. And so we'll go ahead and talk about saving first. And so, the question is, why save? Well, that's some good questions. So, I mean, one, you want to become independent. And so, like I told you the story earlier, it was, great that I could always go back to my dad and say, hey, Dad, I need $5, $10. But as I started to get older and realize that I don't like doing that all the time, it's nice having that feeling where, I don't have to ask anyone to go out and, just buy myself a new video game or something like that I really want. It's nice knowing that I can buy it myself and not have to rely on anyone else. So, becoming independent is really a big thing. And I think, once you get older, you start to realize that too. Another reason you want to save is, for emergencies or even unforeseen events. I mean, they're hand in hand. And so, I mean, that could be anything such as, your car breaks down, you get a flat tire, or, if you have a puppy, a cat, and they get sick, you have to pay for that somehow. And those aren't cheap expenses by any means. So it's nice to have some money that you can, fall back on and make sure that you can cover those expenses. That way you don't get yourself into more trouble. To even make major purchases. Everyone eventually wants a car. I'm sure a lot of you in high school as well are starting to look and get eager into getting a car. I know I was. But you also want to buy gaming systems or anything like that really is not cheap, right? And so that's why saving can really be beneficial as well. Another one is you stay debt free. Student loans, for instance, are huge. My stepmom, she's a doctor, and she's been doing pathology for I don't know how long, but I can tell you she's still paying off her student loans. And I mean, that's just one example of, debt. And so being able to stay out of that option and not incur any debt, whether it's on a credit card, loans, payday loans, anything like that, then even better, because you're using your own money that you have and you can afford the purchase. And so that's why saving can be so beneficial. And those are just a few pointers as well. I mean, there's so many more I'm sure that we can go over. But, that leads to the question on how to save. And so when it comes to how to save, I mean, there's also a few different options. Nowadays, there's a few options. So I mean, you can save by a piggy bank, for instance. I know it's very like old school, right? But I mean, that's probably one of the easiest ways to start saving and learn how to save. You get some change from going to the cafeteria or anything like that. You drop it into your piggy bank, and a year from now, you open it up, you probably have you could have over $100, $200 that you didn't know. A bank account. I don't. A lot of you may have to talk to your parents about doing something like this, but a bank account is also a very beneficial way to save. Some savings accounts give interest that even make the money that you save grow a little bit over time, and so that's just another way as well. Um, and now, I mean, of course, being in 2021, everything's digital. So, everyone has smartphones that you download apps on, and there's so many digital platforms as well that allow you to save money. And it's pretty cool because I mean, some of them even just take, round up your purchases. So if you pay for a McDonald's drink, right, and it comes out to like $1.07, it's going to take that 93 cents and save it for you. And you probably don't even think about it. And that's just another easy method on saving some money. And of course, the more that you start saving, the more you see it grow, the better it feels. Um, so those are just some ways on how to save. Now, the next piece is investing, and this, like I said, is very in correlation with saving money, because, like I mentioned, we'll talk about inflation, and so, but you want your money to grow, and so it's like a tree or a plant, for instance. You plant the seeds, and if you don't mind, Lindsay, just clicking. But I mean, you definitely want your money to grow, and so you would just like your money to work for you, and so that's why you invest it instead of just working for money. You also want your money to work for you, and that's where investing plays a huge role in it because you could think about like dollars as soldiers, right? You send your soldiers to work and they bring more soldiers. I mean, that's just a very simplistic way to look at it. And that's how, investing can help you. You want to save for retirement. That's so huge. Um, based on like Fidelity's RSA, which is our retirement savings assessment, about 63% of Americans aren't on target for, retirement. And that means that, a lot of people may have to work longer than they would like to. And it's a sad truth about America. I mean, without saving and actually learning about this stuff and investing, a lot of people don't take advantage of what's available to them. And so that's why I'm so happy to be here and, talk to you guys about it because just learning on so early, I mean, can make a huge difference, and starting earlier can make a huge difference in your guys' future. So yeah, saving for retirement is huge. You definitely don't want to have to work longer than you have to. Um, you know, it also can provide a regular income. And so, certain securities that you invest in can easily go ahead and help you make money throughout those months, and supplement, the income that you were making while you were working. May not be as much, but it's definitely there and enough to keep you going, which is nice. Um, and then last is, to outperform inflation. And so that's kind of what I was talking to you, all earlier. And inflation, I gave that example where $1,000 today may not be $1,000 tomorrow. I remember growing up, my dad would always tell me the story that, back, when he was younger, back in like 1960s, you can get, a loaf of bread for 25 cents maybe. But, if you go to the store today, you're looking at a loaf of bread for, $3 to $5. That's a huge difference. And so that's where that inflation, prices go up. The value of your money goes down. And so that's why, investing can basically, help supplement that there and make sure that your dollar doesn't dwindle throughout the time or throughout the years. And so, very, very key there. I did see a question pop up, but this leads to our next section on how to invest. I mean, there's so many different ways to invest, especially now where we're at. You have brokerage accounts that you can invest in. I mean, there's just so many of them, and that's one way you can purchase stocks and bonds and mutual funds if you wanted to. There's managed accounts. Managed account, that basically allows you to throw money in there, not even have to worry about that money because you set a goal for it and someone's managing your funds and actually investing for you so you don't have to do the investing yourself. That's one example of a managed account. Next is the forex market. I mean, you can invest in currencies, oil. There's so many options, and that's again the foreign exchange market, or also known as forex. That's one option. I mean, next one, is cryptocurrency. I'm sure we all have heard of Bitcoin. I mean, I could tell you that me personally, I never could have imagined, Bitcoin being so big, but it's grown. And so that's just another method of investing. And then as we discussed earlier, in regards to the technology that we have, I mean, you have the, investing applications on your phone at the just tip of your fingertips. And it's crazy to think about too, because it's, back maybe 10 years ago, you would have your normal just brokerage platforms where you'd have to call someone maybe to open a brokerage account or do anything, when it comes to trading. But now, I mean, you just have some applications on your phone that you just type in some information, you're good to go. It's wild to see how things have changed over time. Um, and so, that's just a few components of, how you can invest. Now, this one, definitely kind of wanted to go over credit versus debit because I also feel like this is very key when it does come to, saving, I would say. Uh, and, I'm definitely kind of talking a little more to like the high school students because I know you guys go to college, you start looking at credit cards. I was once you if you don't believe it. But, you know, credit versus debit, credit for itself definitely has some benefits, but it also, it has its downsides. Credit, if you're not aware, it basically you're borrowing someone's money to use, and you have to pay them back, including interest. So you're paying them more than what you actually borrowed. So if I went to Lindsay, for instance, and said, "Hey, Lindsay, do you mind if I borrow $1,000?" She's like, "Yeah, that's fine. You got to pay me back in 30 days with 5%." That means I'm paying more than my 1,000. And so, but hey, at least I get $1,000 that I can use right away. And that's what credit is. And so, credit definitely, like I said, has some benefits. I mean, if you have an emergency that you just don't have the money saved up for, a credit card could be great for something like that. But it's knowing when and where to actually use the credit and not, okay, I'm just going to use my credit on everything. That's, generally not what you want to do there. Um, but again, it's great for emergencies or anything like that. Any really big purchase that you don't have the cash for, I would say. Debit is also another, awesome option. I mean, it has its upsides and downfalls as well. I mean, debit, that's the money that you actually have, right? So I have $1,000. I go to Starbucks, buy some drinks. Now that costs me $100. I don't know. I bought a lot of Starbucks drinks. Okay, I love Starbucks. If you guys can't tell, but now I only have $900. But hey, at least I use my own money and I don't have to pay anyone back. That's debit, and so that's the money you've saved up and that you're using. And in most cases, debit's always generally the option you want to go with because you're using your own money and you're not having to incur the interest or accrue the interest with making a purchase. And so, definitely want to educate yourselves on the differences and when not to use them. But just kind of want to go over that just a little bit. Don't want to harp on it too much. So I believe that we have some questions. Is that correct, Lindsay?
Yes, we do. We have some pre-registration submitted questions, so we can use those first.
And real quickly before I go ahead and answer questions, just want to let you all know that each state has laws that require any person selling or soliciting or negotiating insurance products in the state for any class or classes of insurance to be licensed for that class or line. So as a Fidelity associate, I was required for my role to obtain a license to ensure I was following proper procedures or practices as well. So to prevent any questions that would potentially put my license at risk, I will be answering some pre-selected questions, as Lindsay mentioned, and always happy to answer questions that you have about my personal journey as well. But when it comes to a lot of the investing questions, I may not be able to answer some of them.
And that's totally fine, Seddrick. Just let us know if any of those ones come up, and we can do those in a different. Way.
Cool.
So I guess from your personal journey, could I ask for the first one be what is the best piece of advice you've ever received personally?
I would say, I've received some pretty good advice, especially working at Fidelity. Have some great coworkers. No, but I would say probably the best advice I've received is be receptive to feedback. Something I learned like really early on is, and this has helped me, tremendously just throughout my journey, but it's not how you perceive something. I could tell you something really nice, like, hey, you look amazing today, but it's all about how that person that you told it to actually perceives it. They may have not liked you telling them that. And that's very key. So being receptive to feedback and just understanding other people's perspectives is just very beneficial to growing and becoming a better person, I think. So I would say that's the best feedback I've received.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, a question from the pre-selected: why did you want to work for Fidelity?
Yeah, so I would say I don't mean this in a bad way. I don't think I never wanted to work for Fidelity. It's just nothing. It was never something that I thought I would be doing. I loved watching movies such as The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, and even Wolf on Wall Street. Watching those really excited me because of what they were doing, but never in my life could have thought I would be working here. I majored in political science. I thought I was going to be a lawyer, so far off here. I had a friend that worked here. I knew that they were hiring, and so I called them and I was like, "Hey, is Fidelity still hiring?" And luckily, I got a job here, and I think that was just one of the best things that ever happened to me because of how much I've learned. Not just working for the company, I've just learned so much personally that I use in my personal life. So it's been beneficial.
Excellent. Thank you. Did any kind of financial experiences lead you to take interest in a financial planning job as you were growing up?
No, again, just like those movies, Pursuit of Happiness, Wolf on Wall Street, seeing people in like the actual, being brokers, and that kind of excited me. I will say, I was in DECA for, the high school students who may know what DECA is. Basically, like that was like a business program that you would be in. And so that's another thing that I would say that really got me excited about finances. Just didn't know really how I can evolve it until I started working here.
Excellent. Thank you. How has this role with Fidelity shaped your life and your financial goals?
Yeah, well, so, again, not before working here, I had no idea so I knew what a 401k was, but I didn't know what it was, if that makes sense. I didn't know the advantages and things like that. I didn't think about saving for my retirement because apparently, I guess, I always thought I would just have money to use. But that's not the case. And so it's really changed my mindset on, how I want my future to be. And it's really shaped, my goals in regards to what I want to see. And it's just taught me about investing and saving so much that I use it in my daily life as it is. So it's been beneficial.
Excellent. Thank you. What kind of education or licensing did you have when you joined Fidelity?
So I had my college or my high school degree. I did go to college. I haven't finished. So I really didn't have too much besides my high school degree. I had work experience, but that was really it. And then, I came to Fidelity, and that changed because I was able to get licenses and things like that. So you don't need a lot of experience to start off in the financial industry, to say the least.
Thank you. Did Fidelity help you pay for any continuing education, licensing, or certifications?
Yeah, I mean, Fidelity definitely has some great benefits, I think. But like for my license, that's something that was actually required for my role. And so again, HSA planner, we have to talk stocks and mutual funds, just a bunch of different securities with folks. And we initiate trades for people's accounts. And in order to do that, you're required to have a license in order to do so. And so luckily, yes, Fidelity did pay for my different licenses that I do hold in order to make sure I was ready for this role.
Excellent. What do you suggest young people start doing now to save for their future?
So you may not like the answer, but I suggest that you educate yourselves. Um, you know, edu- Educating yourself is really big when it comes to knowledge, I think. I mean, you learn a lot in school, but there's only so much that you can learn from your teachers. I mean, even your parents, there's only so much that they can teach you. And we're at that time and age, again, where everything is digital. You literally can go to Google and type in a question and get 100 answers for that one question. And so educating yourself is definitely key to that's, I mean, basically my advice to you in regards to being financially fine.
Thank you. Last question from those submitted were any money management savings tips that you would give to your younger self?
Nope, besides educating myself again. Like I said, my dad, I was so lucky just to have someone that I could reach out to at any time. Um, that was probably my downfall. I wish my dad was a little more stern about not giving me money. But educating myself, I wish I could go back and say, hey, start learning about this stuff now and instead of later. That would have been my biggest piece of advice to myself.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any final points or anything, Seddrick, or we'll wrap up?
No, I appreciate everyone for coming out. I really hope you all benefit from this. And thank you, Lindsay, and the Junior Achievement Program for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with the students that are on the call with us today. And anybody who is on the call, thank you so much for joining. But before we log off, just a couple of announcements. So following this presentation, you'll be asked to complete a post-program mindset survey. By completing the survey, you'll be entered into a drawing for a chance to win a gift card. We pick a new gift card winner for each session, so make sure you keep filling out those surveys after every session. And if there are teachers on the call, make sure you send that link to the students so that they can be entered into the drawing. Lastly, please make sure you join us next week as we welcome Yasmin from Axiom and Sunny from State Farm, and they will be discussing ways to protect your future. So keep an eye out for your follow-up email, and that will help you register for any of those sessions that you may have missed so far. So all of the registration links and meeting links will be sent to you the morning of the event. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much, Seddrick, and to everyone on the call with us today. And I hope to see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seddrick.